All science and geography had prepared them to see the watershed of the Columbia River and beyond it. Instead, there were just more mountains, immense ranges of high mountains still to the west of them, with their tops partially covered with snow. In the name of the Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, Amen. You may be seated. What you just heard was a reality that American explorers, soldiers, and public servants, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, and their teams of 32 people, who, by the way, included a woman from the Lemhi Shoshone tribe named Sacagawea, and who, by the way, too, was a central element of the success of their mission. That was a reality that they came across when they reached the top of the Lemhi Pass. This was 3 years after exploring, by using boats, the new land and the resources of the recently purchased territory of Louisiana, which was purchased in 1803. The Lewis and Clark expedition, also known as the Corps of Discovery, was commissioned by President Thomas Jefferson with the hope to find a direct and practicable water communication across the continent. Instead, what Lewis and Clark found were the Rocky Mountains. According to historical geographer John Logan Allen, that moment atop the Lemhi Pass was when the geography of hope gave way to the geography of reality. What was in front of the Corps of Discovery, that uncharted territory, was something that they were not prepared for. In the same way that Jesus' disciples were not prepared for the reality of how Jesus' life was going to end here on earth. And this may be the same way that we may feel as a community of faith when we're facing the challenges ahead of us in this community, in our country, and in the world. All of us are part of these all same communities for many reasons. And I have no doubt that the central reason is our belief that there is such a thing as a heaven on earth. Our hope that God's kingdom will become a reality among us. And this belief here at All Saints is tied to our commitment to contribute to God's vision of the world for us. Since I have been a member of this community for the past 9 years, I'm a witness of everything that we have done to cooperate with God. Still, I see a country that is being divided by bigotry and greed. I see immigrants, women, LGBTQ plus people treated like second-class citizens. I see seniors struggling to live the good life that they deserve. I see that elected officials in the majority are trying to establish a vision for this country that is very, very, very far from God's vision for us. And I see that thousands of immigrants are on their way to the U.S. border from Central America. And I'm afraid on how we are going to receive them. When I see all of these realities, I know that what is ahead of us is uncharted territory. I think that we are at a moment in our life as a community similar to the moment that the Corps of Discovery faced atop the Lemhi Pass. And I ask myself, All Saints, what can we do? When the Corps of Discovery came to the irrefutable reality that there was no Northwest Passage, no navigable route to the Pacific Ocean, one of the things that Lewis and Clark and the team had to do was to ditch the canoes, find horses, and look for new ways to move forward. Similarly for us, the Rocky Mountains in front of us require a communal transformation. It requires for us to make a shift in what we value, in our expectations, in our attitudes, and in our behaviors. I consider that one of the biggest challenges for us at All Saints as a community may be to realize that we may not have within our existing repertoire the solution of the problems that we face. The challenges in front of us are requiring for us to grow as people, to be transformed into something more than what we have been in the past. All of that without losing our core identity, without losing that something that is so precious, elemental, even essential to who we are at All Saints Church Pasadena. Together, we need to be able to humbly say to the world, this is who we are. The Corps of Discovery was a military expedition with a mission to fulfill. They were a corps, and they were a Corps of Discovery. That was their identity. But to them, there was more than a charge to find a water route. There was a larger sense of purpose, and they needed to recover and recommit what that purpose was at the moment that they were atop that Lemhi Pass. Lewis and Clark and their team had a passionate purpose, and it was a purpose centered around the values of education, exploration, and service. Service to others as a way to give meaning to their lives. And that purpose and those values were the ones that compelled them to continue their expedition despite the dramatic change in the territory to explore. What is All Saints' core identity? We all need to be very clear about what it is. And when we do that, we need to recommit to it, because when we recommit to our core identity, we are claiming, no matter what the circumstances are, an identity that is larger than our successes or failures. There are many lessons that we can learn from Lewis and Clark and the Corps of Discovery. And there is something that they demonstrated that, if nothing else, I hope that all of us will live today inspired and moved by. They learn that there is nothing that people cannot do if they get together and act as a team. Here you had, in that core, 32 people who had become so close, so bonded, that when they heard a cough at night, they knew instantly who had a cold. They could see a person's shape in the dark, and they knew who it was. They also knew who liked salt on their meat and who didn't. They knew who was the best shot, who was the fastest runner, and the one that could get a fire going on quickest in a rainy day. When they were together on the campfire, they got to know about each other's parents and loved ones, and about their dreams and aspirations. They have come to love each other to the point where they would have sold their lives to save a comrade. They had developed a bond. They became a team, and together they were able to accomplish things that still astonish us today. As American writer Margaret Whitley said in an article entitled "When Change is Out of Control," she said, "It is possible. It is possible to prepare for the future without knowing what it will be. The primary way to prepare for the unknown," she said, "is to attend to the quality of our relationships, to how well we know and trust one another. Are we all the All Saints Pasadena team? Are we a team that is so bonded that we know the gifts that everybody has in here and we empower them to use them? Are we such a team that we know about each other's families and loved ones, about our dreams and aspirations? Have we developed such a bond that we notice when someone who sits around us on the pews has not come for a few weeks? And moreover, we have their number and we call them to check on them and make sure that they are doing all right. Have we come to love each other to the point that we will gladly give our lives for a member of this community? If nothing, this type of relationship is what is at the core of what we need to become to truly support God in accomplishing God's vision for the world. After all, we're Christians. We're Christians. We have answered the call to follow a leader that calls us friends. We're Christians that follow a call from a leader that gave us to each other as brothers and sisters. I think this is crucial, then, that we remember that the goal of our journey is more than just building a family, and it is not simply to become a more loving community. I believe that our goal is to be a community of people who participate in God's mission to heal the world by reestablishing God's loving kingdom among us. History is defined by the moment that the Corps of Discovery faced atop the Lemhi Pass and all they could have done. They could have just turned back. They could have turned back and tell Thomas Jefferson that other crew, more equipped to travel long distances through mountain passes, should be launched on a different expedition. But they didn't. When they faced that crucial moment in their expedition, without even discussing about it, they proceeded on. History for the All Saints community will be defined by what we do at this moment when the country and the world need for us to become a team, like the Corps of Discovery was. A team that is partnered with other teams in our communities, making sure that God's vision for this world becomes a reality. So, what are we going to do? Are we going to turn back and hope that another team will fulfill the All Saints' purpose? Or, at this crucial moment in history, without even discussing it, are we going to proceed based upon what has been in the DNA of this community from its inception? A great sense of inclusion, a relentless fight for justice and peace, and a very solid spiritual foundation? I want to ask you to please think about one thing that is in your mind and that you're praying for these days. And I know that we might have more than one, but I want to ask you to think about one thing. Okay, so think about that for a second. Now I want to ask you to stand up if you're able, please. Let's stretch the muscles. I want you to find the person around you that you know the least. That you introduce yourself to that person by name, and that you tell the person what you want that person to pray for you about this week. And then you listen to that person, get to know them by their name, and also about the prayers you're going to be doing for them this week. And you're streaming, and you are alone, think about a friend that you could call later after the service and ask them to pray for you, and you'll pray for them this week. So let's get to know one another and pray for each other. Okay, let's go back to our seats, please. Thank you. Wow, what an awesome feeling to see how strong we're about praying. Now, I think we'll all be leaving this morning with a great feeling, knowing that there is at least one person who is going to be thinking about us this week and is going to be praying for us. Let us pray too that as a team, we engage in the practices that will ensure that we all prosper and flourish, that we come to know that each of us is linked in the chain of our common humanity, and that we truly live by what we say to one another every Sunday when we worship, that God dwells in each of us. Amen.